There is no question that the world is changing and taking notice of gold. But what Iran is doing is taking it to the next level. We're going to discuss what they're doing with gold, not just the central bank and the government, but the people, and the lesson we can learn from it as we explore. This is a very important topic, and I think it certainly is something that, even though on the surface it may not seem like it is something you can relate to, believe you me, you can. And there's an important lesson here that we can take, because Iran, being the sworn enemy of the United States and most of the Western world, well, they're doing something that more Westerners and the Western world should be doing, and that is seeking safety in gold. I'm going to be referencing in part here an article from the Financial Times that tells us what's happening here in Iran. One morning in a labyrinthine Tehran bazaar, a salesman was pitching a hot investment to shoppers. "Your money is dead," he said of the country's beleaguered currency, the rial. "Buy gold." You know, I can't tell you how many times I've heard in this community, "Your money is dead." That's the dollar. In fact, there is great many folks who refuse to call it money. They say that this is just a currency. But nonetheless, it does have all the attributes of money, including a store of value, which is where they say is the hinge point. But it's just a declining store of value. And the way we're moving right now in this country, and very well could see near the end or even the collapse of the dollar if we're not careful. We are closer now than ever before, even though we have the world's reserve currency from the Federal Reserve. Nonetheless, we're moving at a breakneck speed to further deficit spending, higher debt, and further debt limit increases. It's absolutely insanity what's going on right now. But nonetheless, we still got a little bit of time, but Iran doesn't. But we can take their what they're doing, and we can do it ourselves, and we can do it without the threat of war, and without other sanctions as well, at least for now. Local prices for gold in Iran have outpaced a worldwide surge over the past year as businesses buy the metal to skirt sanctions and ordinary Iranians invest to protect their savings amid the threat of military confrontation with the U.S. and Israel. The price of gold coins in the country has risen more than 80% over the past 12 months in terms of the rial, and this compares to a 45% increase in the global benchmark over the same period. So they have a very different market over there in Iran because there is great demand for gold. So compared to 45% to 80%, almost double what we're seeing here. That's crazy. The price volatility has come alongside rampant inflation, which was up more than 30% in the year ended in May, and some analysts fear of a precarious bubble that has formed as the country's economy becomes increasingly dependent on the metal. Indeed, that is certainly the case, and we're seeing that. And you know what? That's why many states around this country, here in the United States, have moved to recognize gold and silver as legal tender. My friends over at Summit Metals, well, they sell gold, and you can buy it from them. They have really good deals on certain gold products, so check them out next time you're in the market to buy gold and see what they have and see if the price is right for you. They have excellent service, and they also have fast shipping. Elevate your wealth with Summit Metals. So this is pretty interesting to see. I tell you, that alone is telling us something here of what could be coming to the United States. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, and maybe not before 2030. But you know, there's more to it than that. In fact, I'm going to get into something here that is somewhat related, but not many people are talking about these days. But we'll get into that in a moment. And the price volatilities, rampant inflation is playing a role, and some Iranians have lost money after the start of nuclear talks with the U.S. in hopes of sanctions relief sparked a correction from local record highs. But as bullion enjoys a historic worldwide rally, the demand from Iran, which is the world's fifth largest consumer of gold bars and coins, has given the global market an extra boost. That's right, Iran already is contributing in part to gold's bull run around the world. Iran imported a record 100 tons of gold, worth about $8 billion in the last 12 months, up to late March, the end of the country's financial year, according to government data. Analysts say the actual volume could be double that figure, with much coming from nearby markets such as the United Arab Emirates and Turkey, who has their own currency crisis that revolves, and the people there also take note and store gold. I've talked about that on this channel as well. Mazdirza Hariri, head of the Iran-China Chamber of Commerce, likened gold to a weapon Iran could use to defend its economy. If other countries run their economies like conventional armies, we operate like guerrillas, he said. Today it might be gold, tomorrow cryptocurrency, tether, and so on. In other words, decentralized forms of currency of some sort. Although gold is the king of them all, I think. But nonetheless, analysts also believe the Central Bank of Iran has built up sizable gold reserves, possibly larger than ever before, to serve as a buffer against future sanctions. The bank declined to comment on the matter. In fact, there was a report of a transaction that occurred between Iran and Russia utilizing gold. Here in the United States, we used to use gold as money, as currency, and this is an example of such. $20 gold piece. This is back when gold was set at $20.67 per ounce, a fixed price. You want to talk about manipulation? Well, it wasn't manipulated. It was just set. And that was it, because gold indeed was money. Oh, long gone are those days, but I like to have this in my collection because it goes to show you that, how far gold has come and how far the dollar has fallen. That's right, it's crazy. That's why I have a stack of those right there to show you. Pretty interesting. No one in the world can stop Iran from importing gold, said one economist, who asked not to be named. The global gold market is opaque. Gold takes up little space, and much of it arrives through neighboring countries. That's right, it is very difficult to stop the gold trade because it can't really be tracked. Until recently, the government actively encouraged non-oil exporters to dodge banking restrictions by accepting payment in bullion. But authorities appear to have quietly halted their support for this in recent months, reportedly suspending tariff-free gold imports around late March, though they have not explained why. Extreme volatility has also hurt some savers. Prices for gold coins briefly surged towards the end of March before the start of talks with the U.S. sparked a correction. So you're going to have some of that. So it seems like there's two different markets. There's the global markets for gold and the London fix and the spot price. And then you have the local markets that affect where there's premiums. And we've seen that happen in some part during like the silver squeeze period and during times of volatility in the precious metals market, physical precious metal markets. Fatima, a 24-year-old housekeeper from Tehran who bought 16 grams of unworked bullion near the peak of the market, subsequently lost the value of her investment after selling it at a lower price. So sometimes that will happen. I was not looking to make a profit, Fatima said. I just didn't want to lose my family's savings. But sadly we did, and that is unfortunate. And that is the volatility that sometimes can happen with gold in the markets. But over the long course of time, and that's where it preserves your wealth. And if she could afford to do so, she should have kept it. And that's just it. Near the peak of the market, you buy high and you sell low, you're going to lose. Yet, with the obstacles to a nuclear deal with the U.S. considerable, demand for gold continues, even if at a slower pace. And hopefully Iranians sound like they are hedging themselves. Essentially, that's what we should be doing too. American officials have repeatedly said that they want Iran to stop enriching uranium, something the Islamic Republic has ruled out. As talks continue, President Donald Trump has maintained his maximum pressure campaign against Iran and has issued threats and further sanctions targeting crude exports, the country's main source of foreign revenues. Meanwhile, Tehran has increased the stockpile of highly enriched uranium to record levels in recent months. And by the way, my guess is the Iranian people are pretty much against that. They would rather see peace and them not pursue a nuclear weapon. Given the ongoing risk, many Iranians are believed to be stashing gold and U.S. dollars at home, bypassing the banking system. It's like wine that just sits in storage, said Mohammed Khashoggi of the Gold and Jewelry Special Committee. Local media frequently reported thefts. Mina, 72, recently returned home from 2 weeks' holiday to find all the jewelry she had kept in her bedroom was gone. Nothing else was stolen. This financial bubble around gold has not helped craftspeople and jewelers, who say demand for decorative gold, which has long played an important role in Iranian culture, is suffering like the rest of the economy. There was a gold market in Afasan 1,000 years ago, said Ali, a gold trader in one of Tehran's bazaars. Now it's not that women who have lost interest, it's that they have lost purchasing power. Yeah, crazy. So kind of a complex market there. But remember, this is one of those situations, folks, where it is a long-term play. You hold it for the duration through a crisis and to protect yourself. And what is that other thing I'm talking about that no one's talking about as much these days? And that's a central bank digital currency. Even though Donald Trump says that under his watch there will not be one, the foundation is already in place for one. That's FedNow. And to my knowledge, it has not been dismantled. And likely we're moving closer to that round where everything will be tracked. So that's why it's also to have gold to protect your privacy. Because if there's a CBDC, they can sanction you. And they can do it very, very quickly. And you can become debanked already right now. There's already a lot they can do, but they can take it and do it in an instant. And it will be done directly from the feds, from the Federal Reserve and the government, ordering them to do as such, or voluntarily. So that is one good reason to have gold in your portfolio. Yes, indeed. So let me know what your thoughts are about this story. I would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.